You are nothing but a clown at a demo booth. Just keep playing the clown at the store.
Those harsh words came from my husband,
I've snagged your husband making 100 grand a year.
bragged the proud woman. This has got to be a joke. I'm going to protect my 2 kids. It's okay. Everything will work out. I firmly told myself. I'm Michelle, 55. I have 2 sons in college, Kyle and Ethan. My husband is Tom, 57. I met him while working at an electronics store. Back in our 20s, sales was the hot career. These days, people might call it a burnout job, but each month, a bar graph showing the number of contracts closed would be posted, and at the end of the month, the top salesperson would be awarded in the company. Tom worked in sales for a big electronics chain, and he'd been awarded at the end of every month. I was a clerk at one of the chain stores, handing out samples and selling bread machines. That was what they call a sales demo. Tom and I met there and eventually got married. Soon, with the rise of the internet, electronics stores were forced to change their sales methods. The in-house awards quietly disappeared, and times moved on. One day, Tom came home drunk, complaining about how he didn't get along with his younger colleagues.
I told them to get out there and do whatever it takes if they want to make a sale.
Apparently, he got reported for harassment and got a stern talk from his boss.
These kids say, I'm out of touch even though I know more about appliances than they ever will. Fine, I'll go solo and run the most cutting-edge electronics sales business out there.
Then he announced he'd submitted his resignation.
Wait, are you serious?
He told me about his decision only after that was final.
Don't give me any lip. I'm gonna make this work. Don't forget who's paying the bills around here.
He slurred, then passed out at the entrance hall. Back then, I still cared about him. We had kids, after all. A guy as competitive as him would be fine. Everything would be all right. I reassured both of us like that. Soon, Tom set up an online store while he was collecting unemployment benefits. However, with his competitiveness and inability to adapt to the times, things at home quickly went downhill. The store was easy enough to open since he had access to supply routes. However, major electronics retailers can leverage their scale by suggesting
We're ordering 100 bread machines, so give us a bigger discount on the wholesale price.
allowing them to sell at a lower price. Small shops can't compete that way. Even so, his pride got stoked when the shop appeared in a high-ranking list on the shopping site. Anyone could compare prices online in seconds. People would often choose the top result in the sort by lowest price list. Not wanting to lose, he listed his products at 10% less than the competitors. 10% less, mind you. The more he sold, the deeper the red. Even a grade schooler could see the problem. We couldn't survive at that rate. I pleaded with Tom. Nevertheless, he energetically boasted.
The basics of business are lose a little to gain more. Running at a loss is totally expected. Once sales pick up, we'll be in the black in no time.
Apparently, being at the top of the rankings really thrilled him.
I'd settle for being 100th if we were making money.
More than anything, we had to eat to survive.
We're family, huh? Don't you have any loyalty?
He yelled, throwing a tissue box at me. Not wanting my 2 sons to go hungry, I went back to doing cooking demos at the electronics store. Listing the lowest prices on the site naturally brought in reviews like,
Great deal.
Meanwhile, I handled packing and admin work myself to save on labor costs. Nights were spent on packing and paperwork, and days were spent on demos. The more we sold, the more worn out I became. Our savings and my body were both drained. Amid all of that, I noticed clear changes in Tom's behavior.
I'm off to negotiate some purchases.
Those negotiation trips became more frequent. He used to buy suits online, but he would say,
Since I'm ranked number 1, I need to look sharp for these meetings.
and buy women's bags as gifts.
Hey, Mom. I've been quiet about this, but
Finally, my older son Kyle voiced what I'd been secretly fearing.
Are we sure Dad's actually going to these negotiations?
My younger son Ethan chimed in.
Besides, who buys women's bags as gifts for a business meeting?
My hands froze mid-wrap around a bread machine. Before I could respond, tears fell onto the bubble wrap. I'd been trying not to think about that, but once my son said that out loud, I had to face that. The following day, I cautiously brought that up to Tom.
Hey, Tom, you've been traveling a lot for work lately, but are you really traveling for work?
Then, he casually admitted to the affair as if that was nothing more than a cold.
I've got a girlfriend over in Manhattan.
Girlfriend?
Listen. I'm a CEO and the top-ranked online seller. Of course, I'd have a girlfriend. She's in her 20s and already knew about my company. Makes sense, given I'm number 1 in my field. At the top, you get a different caliber of woman.
That man was still living in a world of bar graphs of his sales. That meant everything was over. He probably thought he was still the top salesperson, proud as ever. That's why he showed no remorse.
We've been together for 20 years, we have 2 kids, and yet you don't care at all about how much you're hurting us.
I managed, my voice shaking. Nevertheless, he didn't care in the slightest and said,
Huh? Do you even remember when we got married? It's been 20 years. Times have changed. It's not a door-to-door game anymore. That's the same with women. 20 years ago, I was only stuck with a demo sales clown like you, but now it's different. I'm a top-rated CEO now. An upgraded me needs an upgraded woman. Got that, clown?
Then he threw an orange at me.
You are nothing but a clown at a demo booth. Just keep playing the clown at the store.
Kyle, you were right, after all.
I told my eldest son.
figured as much.
He replied, putting down the packing materials for the products.
I'm with you, Mom. Luckily, since I'm living at home, I'll work part-time and pitch in a little.
Me too.
Added Ethan, setting down the duct tape. By that time, the whole family was helping with packing.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you so much, indeed. Yet, studying is your main focus, so I'll work extra hours with the demos. Don't worry about the money.
When I said that with a smile, both of my sons smiled back at me. Then Kyle encouraged me.
Everything will be all right, Mom. Remember what you always say during your demos? With this one thing, everything will work out. Leaving Dad will make sure everything will work out for us too.
Right. I would support my sons on my own. I used to tell customers, everything will work out. I had to make that come true for us, or I'd be a liar. I would make sure that my life and my sons, everything would work out. Just you wait and see, you fool, thinking you were on the cutting edge when you were actually lagging behind. Signing the divorce papers, I told Tom.
Let me take a fair amount of alimony.
He replied,
That's already factored into my plans. It's a parting gift as I move to the next stage. Time to reset the old stage.
and I was granted full custody of the kids. Since Tom left all the packing materials and equipment for the online store at our house, his girlfriend came by to pick them up after the divorce. When I saw her for the first time, I had to admit she was beautiful, with an overpowering perfume. She looked like what people might call a high-end city girl. With her beautiful lips like flowers, she fluttered a smile and said,
Sorry, but I took your husband making 100 grand a year.
Like she's really sorry.
Muttered Ethan, about to grab her, but Kyle held him back.
Since the documents and everything's heavy, I'll carry for you to your car.
He suggested, extending her one last courtesy. Once Kyle finished loading the car, I walked out to her car in the driveway to say one last thing. Not a bitter goodbye, just a final word to close that chapter. I tapped on the driver's side window, where she was adjusting her flashy blue sunglasses.
What do you want? Is there something else?
She asked, rolling down the window halfway. As the window opened, I could feel the scent of her perfume wafting out. That was a musky smell. Before the scent faded, I delivered my parting message.
Indeed, Tom is a 100 grand man, but it is not his income, but his debt.
What did you say?
She asked, her face twisted in confusion. I walked away without explaining. The scent of musk receded as I left. Right. That was my closure for the start of everything going right for us. Returning inside, I let out a deep sigh.
Good job, Mom. Let's look forward now,
Said Ethan, giving me a pat on the shoulder.
Yeah. Now, I guess we're finally free from that $100,000 debt.
Kyle said thoughtfully.
Yes, indeed.
I nodded slowly. The living room was once scattered with packing materials, but that was empty as if we were starting fresh. Looking around the bare room, I murmured to myself,
From here, it's only up. Everything will work out. This is the bottom. It can't get any worse.
Thus, I started taking on more hours at the demo sales job, working at multiple stores. Some stores even offered an hourly rate with a commission on each item sold. That helped ease our finances. Finally, it looked like I'd be able to cover tuition for both kids. With that hope, I exhaled deeply one day, and I got a phone call. It was from Tom.
I'd like to talk things over.
He said.
Why now? We've settled everything like alimony and custody. It's done.
I replied.
Even so, I'd appreciate it if you'd just hear me out.
That felt a lot like when I'd say at the demo booth.
Just try it. You can decide whether to buy later.
I didn't really want to hear anything he had to say. However, Kyle and Ethan encouraged me.
Mom, you probably have things you want to say too. We'll be there with you.
After I hung up, Kyle added.
Don't worry about a thing, Mom. I'm sure everything will work out.
That was as if he knew what was coming, and he was right. That weekend, the 5 of us gathered at my house to talk. Tom and his girlfriend arrived. Right from the start, he pleaded.
Business isn't going well. Please, come back.
However, his girlfriend held him down, practically biting back.
Why are you acting like the victim here? I'm the one who got tricked. I'm the victim. I want to return this defective product. He was broken from the start.
I calmly addressed her.
A defective product? I did warn you that day, didn't I? I told you he wasn't earning $100,000, but instead, he had $100,000 in debt.
But
She stammered, opening the online store's page and pointing at it.
Tom's shop ranked #1.
For sales, yes. Yet, the prices are ridiculously low. He's not just breaking even, but he's bleeding money.
When I revealed the truth, her face went pale.
This is what they mean by a dead business.
Hearing that, Tom shot up and yelled at her.
Shut up. Thanks to that strategy, I'm #1 in units sold. If this were my old company, I'd be topping the bar chart, and I would be awarded at the end of the month.
Yet, his girlfriend wasn't intimidated. She probably knew that if she backed down, she wouldn't be able to pin the failure on me. Instead, she fired back.
I don't care about your 80s glory days.
My kids and I exchanged glances. As anticipated, Tom was still stuck in the days of bar graphs and company awards.
You're talking like it's all my fault, but you are to blame too.
He pointed a finger at her, now visibly flustered.
My ex-wife here used to handle all the packing and shipping, but you haven't done any of it.
That's because you only told me. Once we're married, all you have to do is sit pretty. That's what you said.
His girlfriend shrieked, nearly piercing our eardrums. However, Tom wasn't backing down either. They stood their ground, clashing head to head.
Except for the shipping and paperwork. I thought it went without saying that if you marry a small business owner, you'd help out.
Huh? You think a high-end city girl would do that kind of work?
To all the sensible city women out there, I apologize for her misplaced pride. Stop fighting in someone else's house. The bickering wasn't going anywhere, so I cut in.
So, how exactly did you two meet in the first place?
That was the one thing I was most curious about.
Well, I stopped by a certain lounge on the way back from a wholesaler's, and that's where.
Tom began, and she interrupted, saying she was the real victim.
I saw his top seller page and he tricked me with it. I even dumped my boyfriend who actually ran a business to be with him.
Then they were off again.
It wasn't a lie, I am number one indeed.
Still, you were totally lying when you claimed all I needed to do was just sit around and look cute.
Their argument was going in circles. Amid the shouting, Kyle let out a yawn and then slowly turned to Tom's girlfriend.
By the way, since it seems like you're about to part ways with my dad, is there anything you'd like to tell me?
The woman seemed to snap back to reality with that laid-back tone.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She said, looking at Kyle, changing her tone and giving him a flirtatious look.
Since I'm leaving your father, have you thought about my offer?
What's going on here?
I wondered what on earth they had been discussing. I couldn't help but turn to Kyle, who chuckled.
She's got a thing for me.
Huh?
Tom practically shouted, and I was just as shocked.
When I loaded the last of the boxes into her car, I mentioned I'd just gotten a job offer from Mountain Electronics. Then this lady here begged me to give her my contact information. She even said she wouldn't let me leave until I did. After that,
Kyle showed me her messages on his phone. She texted,
Older men just don't cut it. I need a young guy like you, Kyle. It's all about potential, and I love you, Kyle.
How dare you?
Tom was speechless, as Kyle closed the screen with a grim smile.
hey Dad, you cheated, and now she's cheating back on you. Don't complain. I just told her about my job offer, and she gave me her account on her own. We're not dating. I haven't even seen her since then. All we've done is text. I only replied once to say, I'll think about it after you leave, Dad, which was my way of giving her a reality check. The answer was obvious all along, though.
Kyle spread his arms.
Dad, she was only after your money. She doesn't love you. When you're down, she won't stick around like Mom did. And as for you, lady, I hope you regret messing with our family. Oh, and one more thing.
Kyle laughed softly.
Even if you leave, Dad, I don't intend to marry you. Sorry for that.
Huh?
The woman looked horrified.
All those passionate texts were pointless, but don't blame me.
Kyle continued, twisting the knife.
If you say so, you could have told me when I sent, I love you. I texted you every day.
She shouted, defeated by his sudden refusal.
That's none of my business. I only replied with, I'll think about it after you leave, Dad. Now that you have, I did think about it. So, no lies here.
Saying that, Kyle stuck his tongue out playfully. Then came the real drama. Tom begging for support, the woman lamenting the lack of money. They both started looking to us for help. Tom sobbed.
I only now realize how much I relied on you. I can't make it without you, helping with sales, packing, everything. Sure, there's a deficit now, but you have diligently covered it with your demo sales.
The woman clung to Kyle, pleading.
I actually prefer younger guys. Even though you don't want to marry, you can make me your mistress at least.
I dismissed Tom.
I'm working more shifts and making enough now with my commission, so I can't see why I have to support you.
And Kyle shot down the woman.
You were willing to ruin my family. Why would I feel anything for you? The way you feel now is how my mom felt on that day. Except my mom didn't try to take anyone else's partner, and she even wanted to protect her kids and what you took from her.
Finally, Ethan summed that up.
Dad, you left Mom who kept saying everything will work out for you. Now, nothing's going to work out for you. You threw away her support and your happiness in exchange for what you call an updated life.
Tom's life was summarized in 3 lines by his own son. Within a few weeks, Tom's website closed down, which meant his store went out of business. The woman sent a message saying,
I've left your father. I'm really alone now. Please help.
But Kyle showed that to me and then blocked her on the spot.
Now, look at this. For anyone who is not good at cooking or hates cooking, I have the perfect solution. Just press this one button, and here it comes. It's that easy. Besides, no stove to clean up. Cleaning the stove is such a hassle, right?
I raised my voice.
With this one thing, you're all set. Everything will work out.
My gaze wasn't directed at a crowd, but at the TV camera. My demo skills had gained enough popularity that I'd landed a spot on a TV shopping show. Naturally, my income doubled, and both of my sons landed jobs and were thriving. In the end, everything really was working out.
Great job.
The director praised me.
Keeping the energy up for these product demos must be exhausting.
He said, handing me a coffee.
Well, my ex did call me a clown.
Not at all. It's like watching a one-person show. It's moving to see you deliver such a great performance every time.
The director took a sip of his coffee and added,
That phrase you use, everything will work out, it's powerful.
I think so too. I've always told myself that.
I smiled back. If you keep believing it, things will truly work out. Thank you so much to everyone who listened to my story. You'll be okay, too. From here on, I'm sure everything will work out.